Hey guys, today we're doing a stat breakdown of the UFC Featherweight G.O.A.T, including records, striking stats, wrestling stats, and at the end we'll crown the fighter with the best record, the statistically best striker, the statistically best grappler, and the best overall fighter according to the stats. The fighters we'll be looking at today are Alexander Volkanovski, Jose Aldo, Max Holloway, Conor McGregor, Urijah Faber, Frankie Edgar, and with all these fighters, we'll be looking at the combined UFC and WEC career and considering only featherweight fights. Firstly, looking at wins, Max Holloway has the most wins in UFC featherweight history, whereas McGregor only has 7 wins, which was all of his featherweight fights. Both Conor McGregor and Volk are undefeated at featherweight, whereas Holloway has the most losses, 3 to Volk, 1 to McGregor, 1 to Poirier, and 1 to Bermudez. Looking at title fight wins, Jose Aldo has the most in UFC history, with 7 in the UFC and 3 in the WEC. Something else I found interesting is that Faber and Volk have the same amount of title defenses, although Faber's were all in WEC. Conor McGregor only had 1 title win with no defenses. Volkanovski is undefeated through his 6 title fights, whereas Edgar is at the other end of the spectrum with 2 losses in 2 title fights for the featherweight division. There are some insane win streaks amongst these fighters. Jose Aldo had a 15-fight win streak, whereas Volk is on an 11-fight win streak in the featherweight division, since his loss was at lightweight, and he has also had 1 catchweight win and 1 lightweight win. Looking at win-loss ratio, McGregor and Volk have no win-loss ratio since they haven't lost, whereas Aldo has the highest, despite losing 4 of his last 7 featherweight fights. Looking at the quality of the opponents these fighters have faced, McGregor and Volk fought the highest quality opponents compared to the rest of the fighters, whereas Urijah Faber did not beat many big names outside of Dominic Cruz. Onto striking stats, Jose Aldo has had the most knockouts, although he did have 22 featherweight fights. Conor McGregor, on the other hand, had an insane 6 KOs in 7 featherweight fights, and we can see this reflected in the knockout rate, where Holloway was the only fighter to survive featherweight McGregor, whereas Jose Aldo is still second despite having 22 fights. There are 3 fighters that have never been finished at featherweight, whereas Aldo was finished the most, once by Conor and twice by Holloway. Volk and Holloway put crazy volume on their opponents, with more than double the strike differential than the rest of the list, whereas McGregor and Aldo have lower numbers due to their high finish rates. Both Holloway and Volk put up UFC record strike per minute numbers, with Holloway having the 3rd highest featherweight output and Volk having the 4th highest. Not only is Volk putting out high volume, but he's highly accurate, in fact the 3rd most accurate in UFC featherweight history. On the other hand, we can see Faber was extremely inaccurate in his featherweight career. Interestingly enough, the 2 guys who have never been finished also have the lowest strike defense, whereas Jose Aldo was almost untouchable during his prime. Onto grappling stats, Urijah Faber has far more subs than anyone on this list, noting that Charles Oliveira has the most UFC featherweight submissions with 6, and as expected, Urijah Faber also has the highest submission rate, whereas Aldo, Volk, and McGregor haven't landed a featherweight submission. We can see that Holloway is the only fighter on this list to be submitted at featherweight, and therefore great fighters rarely get submitted. However, there is a surprise when looking at takedown accuracy, since McGregor has the highest with his 4 takedowns versus Max Holloway, whereas Edgar, on the other hand, despite being a great wrestler, has the lowest due to his high takedown output. Frankie Edgar has all-time takedown defense at featherweight, having never been taken down in a UFC featherweight fight. Edgar also excelled in takedown output, whereas Volk was in second, which is impressive considering he was topping many of the striking numbers. Frankie Edgar is just clearly the best wrestler in this list, having the highest control time on this list and the 4th highest UFC featherweight top position time and control time. We can also see Faber, despite having 6 submissions, had lower control time, since he ended fights on the ground with submissions when he was in control. Now, time to rank the fighters with the best record. The way I did this was for each of the stats on the screen, I gave the best fighter 6 points, the second best fighter 5 points, the third best fighter 4 points, and so on, and then added up all their scores and ranked them. In 3rd place is Max Holloway, who is 4th in win-loss ratio, 2nd in win streak, 4th in title fight wins, and 1st in wins. In 2nd place is Alexander Volkanovski, who is 1st in win-loss ratio, 3rd in win streak, 2nd in title fight wins, and 3rd in wins. And in 1st place, we have Jose Aldo, who is third in win-loss, first in win streak, first in title fight wins, and second in wins. Next, onto the statistically best striker. In third place, we have Volk, who is fourth in knockouts, first in strike differential, first in strike accuracy, sixth in strike defense, and third in knockout rate. In second place, we have Conor McGregor, who is third in knockouts, strike accuracy, and strike defense, fourth in strike differential, and first in knockout rate. And lastly, in first place once again, is Jose Aldo, who is first in knockouts, fifth in strike differential, fourth in strike accuracy, first in strike defense, and second in knockout rate. Next, onto the statistically best grappler. In third place, we have Max Holloway, surprisingly, who is second in submission and submission rate, third in takedown accuracy and takedown defense, and sixth in takedowns landed. In second place, we have Urijah Faber, who is first in submissions and submission rate, fifth in takedown accuracy, sixth in takedown defense, and third in takedowns landed. And lastly, the statistically best featherweight grappler is Frankie Edgar, who is third in submissions and submission rate, sixth in takedown accuracy, first in takedown defense, and takedown landed. If we were to combine all the scores from the previous slides to crown the overall featherweight stack GOAT, we have Volk and Holloway tied in second place and Jose Aldo in first place, noting that Volk is still in his prime and may catch up to Aldo's stats. That's the end of this video, guys. Let me know if you enjoyed this style of video in the comments, since it's my first time doing it, and which division you'd like to see next. And as always, like, comment, subscribe, do all those good things, and I'll see you next time.